Hi everyone, it's Claire again, and today I am coming from my backyard. As you can see, I'm outside because the nature of this video is outside. We're going to be talking about bees today, and not all kinds of bees, but we're going to especially be talking about honeybees, and we're going to have my dad show us around his hives later on in the video because he's a bee farmer, so that's really cool. Our first fact: bees are a part of a group of insects called Hymenoptera. That is a very, very big word, so we're going to sound it out together. Hymenoptera. That's an A at the end. Hymenoptera, and it means membrane-winged. So this is our first vocab word. The next fact: there are at least 25,000 known species of bees. That's a lot of bees, and that is only counting the ones that we already know about. So there could be a lot more species just flying around that we haven't found yet. Honeybees, specifically, are one of the only bee species that live in a community, and they're called social bees. Honeybees work in a structured social order. This means that they have specific jobs they're supposed to do in their hive. Another word for a hive is called a colony. This is another vocab word. Colony, another word for a hive. Honeybees are also the only Hymenoptera species to keep their colony alive throughout multiple seasons. So, some other Hymenoptera like hornets or wasps also have colonies, but their hives only last for one season and then their colony dies and they fly away and they die in the wintertime a lot of the time. But bees can last years. And another fun fact is that the queen bee can usually last 5 to 6 years if her colony doesn't die. The honeybee colony only survives because of their honey. The bees will eat the honey in the winter to stay alive, but they'll also use the honey-filled hives and their other bee friends to stay warm in the cold months and stay cool in the warm months. Isn't that cool? Okay, next we're going to talk a little bit about hive culture. So hive culture is the definition of what happens inside their hives. So first fact about hive culture is that there are 3 different main jobs a bee can have: a queen, a worker, or a drone. And this job is assigned even before the bee is born. And most bees will become worker bees. So here's a picture that I have in my hefty bee book. So, this is what a worker usually looks like. It's a little bit smaller than a queen and a drone. And it does most of the work. The worker bee does. This is a queen. Queens are bigger, and their main job is to lay eggs. And then this is a drone. The drone is a male bee. They usually live outside of the hive. And they're a little bit smaller than the queen, but a little bit bigger than a worker. Can you see the difference between body types? The next fact: all the honeybees who live in a hive are female. So every single honeybee that you see collecting pollen or working in a hive is a girl. So that is some real girl power, right? The queen is the only bee that can lay eggs, and in the early summer she'll lay about 1,500 eggs a day. That is a lot of eggs, right? During the course of the year, those eggs will produce around 200,000 worker bees. So here are what queens, workers, and drones do. Workers live in the hive, working specific jobs their whole life. They can be anything from foragers to honeymakers and even to nurses. Who knew that you could have a nurse bee? Workers will do one job at each stage of their life, and they have 3 stages of life with 3 different job categories. So, very, very young bees will be nurse bees for their first stage of life, and then they're going to be house bees, and then they'll be forager bees. For example, older worker bees are foragers because they know the surrounding area the best. The hive wouldn't want a 1-day-old bee out in the big world by herself, right? The queen does nothing but lay eggs. That's a very important job. Without the queen, the colony would die. Drones are male bees, as I said earlier, and their sole purpose is to fertilize eggs. Like any monarchy, there is only one queen at a time. If the current queen is healthy, the hive only produces workers. But if the queen is removed or dies or even becomes sick, the hive knows within hours, and they'll quickly start preparing a new queen, which is very, very cool. Next, we're going to talk about bee communication. I bet you didn't know that honeybees could dance. Yes, you heard that right. Honeybees communicate to each other by dancing. They communicate the direction, distance, and nutritional strength of nectar and pollen sources to their nestmates by dancing. So they do 2 different kinds of dance, the round dance and the waggle dance. So this is the round dance. This is kind of what it looks like. If a forage site is close to the hive, the bees will do a circle dance or a round dance. The waggle dance, which looks like this, it's a little bit more complicated. The waggle dance tells other bees where a forage site is, which direction to fly, how far to fly, and even what to expect when they get there. And all of this is in the dark, so bees are expected to sense all of this by non-visual means, which means that they have to sense this by their taste or their smell or the vibration feel that the other bee is using by their wings or by their body. So this is kind of like your 5 senses, but without sight. Next, we're going to go on to swarming. Have you ever seen a swarm of bees? Well, swarming is the natural process in which bees divide into 2 or more separate groups. Swarming is a tool used by bees to create more hives. Swarming usually occurs when the hive gets too overcrowded. As modern beekeeping has developed, you don't see as many swarms, and here's why. Beekeepers can use different methods to keep bees from swarming. The easiest way is to just create more space in the hive. This is easy to do because humans have created beehives that can be added onto or removed. These are called movable frame hives. These look like wooden boxes with inserts in them, and the bees will build honeycomb onto those inserts. My dad uses this kind of hive. Swarms of bees aren't usually dangerous to humans. Bees are actually very, very docile in a swarm. This means that you can go up to the swarm and touch it or move it, and the bees will not sting you. But don't try that if you're not a professional. This is because bees are not protecting a hive and don't sting unless they feel that you are threatening their hive. I actually have a video of somebody picking up a swarm of bees with their bare hand, so I'll show that to you. are very important. They produce yummy honey and helpful wax that is used in many things, and they also help the environment by pollinating the earth. Without bees, we wouldn't have nearly as many beautiful plants or even any fruits or vegetables. So, I'm going to list some flowers honeybees really like. So they really like dandelions, orange tree blossoms, clovers, apple blossoms, maple tree blossoms, blueberry flowers, lavender blossoms, thistle flowers, sunflowers, and cotton blossoms. Maybe you can plant some of these varieties for your friendly neighborhood honeybee. So now let's talk about maybe the most important part of honeybees, is the honey. Honey that comes from bees is really, really cool. So there are two types of honey. You can get factory-made honey and hive-made honey. We're going to talk about hive-made honey because, in my opinion, it's better than that fake stuff that factories make. Honey actually goes through a process before it's ready to be harvested. First, the honeybees collect nectar from flowers. This is a clear, runny liquid that is a combination of sugar and water. Most, if not all, flowers have nectar. You can also kind of trick bees into thinking that they're getting nectar by mixing water and sugar and giving it to them that way. So, after they collect nectar, then the bees will begin the process of turning that nectar into honey. They do this by, and this is going to sound really nasty, but they do this by regurgitating the nectar over and over until the water in the nectar is evaporated. So bees have a specific stomach that they store honey in, and it is called a honey stomach. So maybe that'll put your mind at ease if you really like honey and you just were grossed out by the fact that they kind of throw it up. They're not throwing it up with all this other food like we would think that bees would throw up honey. They have a specific stomach that they regurgitate it from. So it's not mixed with anything gross. The bee will regurgitate little droplets of honey from her honey stomach and then swish it around in her mouth until the nectar is now just a little bit less watery. While she swishes and regurgitates the nectar, our little bee's honey stomach is actually changing the composition of the nectar into a very sugary mix we call honey. This process takes one bee 20 minutes. That is some hard work. So you can only imagine how many bees it takes for us to make a bottle or a jar of honey. After all of that work, then our honeybee puts her honey into a storage cell made of beeswax and starts the process all over again. Okay, so we're out here. We're getting ready to go see the beehives. And I'm here with my dad. And he's going to tell you his favorite part about beekeeping. Okay, Dad, what's your favorite part about beekeeping?
The bees.
Okay, elaborate, please.
Probably just seeing them work in their hive is the favorite part.
All right. Tell me what you're doing right now.
Well, I'm building a fire in the smoker so that I can smoke them. And what that does is it turns their attention away from me. And their instinct is that there's a fire. And so what they do is they go to start collecting honey out of the hive because they have this instinct that they're going to have to move from the hive. So it just allows me the opportunity to get in the hive without them attacking me.
Does it make them sleepy?
I'm not sure what it does, but it's kind of an instinct that then they turn to feed on the honey in the hive so that they have some stores if they have to fly and flee.
Cool. So here we are in our bee outfits. We're about to open the hive.
I'm going to open it up and look and see if this is a new hive.
Okay.
I'm going to open it up and see if the queen has started laying eggs. See those capped yellowy areas? So the queen has started laying eggs. And then you can see down inside some of those, there's like a little caterpillar shape.
Mm-hmm.
That's a larvae that isn't ready to be capped yet. So the ones that are white will they'll start hatching here probably in about a couple weeks. When they start hatching, boy, they'll fill this box. This box will be full in about another couple weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. So the queen's bigger than the rest of the bees, and we got to be careful that we don't squash the queen. So this is a good sign. So they're working from the inside out. So this is honey that they've brought in. So this is a brand new hive. So basically, they've started from scratch. So this hive, actually I lost my bees from last year, so I reused this hive and bought a new package of bees. So, and that's actual honey. That's honey right there, and this is pollen down in there, but that's
right there.
Yep, there's the queen. So right there with the blue dot. So she's laying. So so you can kind of see there's little white larvae. There's little white larvae down in the. You can probably see them right there. You can kind of see them. You'll have to point them out.
You can see them over here too.
Yep, and over here, so they're capping.
Mm-hmm.
So you see them capping. So those bees in a couple weeks will emerge.
So why are these hives brown and the other ones are white?
That's just so these are black. These are on a black frame. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not.
Is this all pollen right
Yep,
here?
that's all pollen there. So this is honey from last year.
Okay.
So they'll use that to feed and feed the young.
If I can. Here you go. See, that one's on my arm. All right, guys, now it is time for our challenge. I challenge you to take any honey that you have at home, and we're gonna test whether it is real hive-made honey or fake factory-made honey. So I have my honey right here, and I will film myself testing my honey that we have at home. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna get a little bowl of honey, fill it up with about this expanded I had about a quarter size or a little bit bigger of honey that I had in here that I squirted in from my bottle. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna pour some water, not directly on top of the honey, but around the sides. And we're gonna pour enough water in here that it covers. Okay, I think that's enough. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna swirl the water around. Now, if you can see, do you see all those little lines in the honey? So that is where it was separated from each other in the honeycomb. And then, wow, look at that. So that is our challenge for today, guys. I would love to see your challenge pictures. I hope that you guys had a lot of fun with my bee video today, and I hope to see you all very soon.